For joining us on today's edition of Prime Flash on My Media Plan Television. I am Nsah Eileen. Today, October 5, is International World Teachers Day. The 2022 edition is being observed under the theme, "The Transformation of Education Begins with Teachers." The International Teachers Day is celebrated to focus on the work of the educators, researchers, and professors, as well as their challenges. The International Teachers Day is celebrated by the United Nations Educational, Scientific and Cultural Organization UNESCO with the International Labour Organization and Education International. However, teachers of Lycée Bileng Bafoussam in Cameroon's West region are celebrating the day by highlighting the challenges teachers have been facing in the country and recalls the On a trop supporté protest OTS. They are demanding for better working conditions, especially their monthly pay packages, as they were spotted carrying placards and pics or posters with messages to that light since yesterday. This human interest story, a man who claims to be suffering from mental illness has reportedly killed 2 women in the west region of Cameroon. The said man broke into a house and killed the 2 women while injuring their husband. Reports say the perpetrator is said to be a former bike rider who escaped from the hands of a native doctor where he was receiving medical care. We're going to be giving you more on this story during our next newscast. The former rector of the University of Douala, Professor Dieudonné Owono, has been released from the Kondengue prison after 7 years imprisonment. He was found not guilty of embezzlement charges after being accused of embezzling funds during the 2014 University Games, where he was arrested in 2018. 2 suspected kidnappers are in custody after they were arrested for kidnapping 2 teenagers in Gaundari, chief town of the Adamawa region. They are said to be notorious criminals with bad records, as Nicole Tako tells us.
Sadou Bouba, a 23-year-old, and Moussa Janvier, of 29 years, are suspected bandits who have been arrested for kidnapping 2 teenage children. These bandits were apprehended in Gaundare, chief town of the Adamawa region in Cameroon. According to security officers, during their arrest, they were in possession of cell phones, SIM cards, ID card, a dagger, and other items. Report says 13-year-old Hadijatu was released after her parents paid a ransom to her kidnappers. Meanwhile, the second child, Hassan Hahaman, said he escaped when his kidnapper went in search for food. Little Hadijatu now recounts what conspired during her kidnap.
If I would cry, he would kill me. As I was following him, he asked me another number of a family member. When I gave him, he called and said that you have taken the child, that if they will not send 20 million, he will go with the child or him. I was first of all not afraid. After when he was talking about killing, going like that, I was already afraid.
Elements of law enforcement at the Adamawa Gendarmerie say the culprits were apprehended thanks to the collaboration from the parents of the children. Recently, the rate of kidnapping is alarming in the Adamawa region, reason why forces of law and order in that area are assuring the population of the measures put in place to eradicate these atrocities.
Now let's talk the water crisis in Cameroon. Cameroonian politicians and civil society activists are of the opinion that the appointment of the new Director General of Cam Water will not solve the problem of the lack of potable water. Joy Ngong caught up with some politicians and filed in the following report.
Just as it is the case in other regions of Cameroon, access to potable water in the littoral, particularly Douala, is a hell of a challenge. This could be related to the dysfunctioning of public water distribution centers. The rate of availability of potable water in Douala, where I stay, is not more than 30%. We have only about 400,000 households connected to the public network of water distribution, about 90 people who drink water from wells, and these water sources are polluted. A new director at the head of CamWater to solve this age-old problem is not an effective solution, as explained by political analysts of the opposition and Cameroonian civil society activists.
Le changement d'homme, ce n'est pas la solution.
Change is not the solution. Rather, there is need to implement a system which will ensure that the network from treatment to distribution of water is efficient. A problem of this nature is not solved by a board game.
Pas un problème de telle envergure par un jeu de dames.
C'est un jeu de réseau.
It is a game of the network and not of a personality or the efficiency of an individual. For others, especially of the CPDM, the new Director General of CamWater is a square peg in a square hole.
Le jeune Nsah qui vient d'être nommé, je lis en lui beaucoup de âme et beaucoup de vivacité.
The young Nsah who was recently appointed, I see in him so much vivacity. Youths have to follow in that light.
Abattre un travail énorme pour qu'on puisse donc nous faire confiance.
Following the water scarcity, consumers have high expectations of the newly appointed boss of the water distribution company.
Onto something else, this week was set aside by SEMAC to encourage investment. A week they learn or term the International Investor Week, aimed at impacting and strengthening investors for sustainable financial growth. Get details in this report with Ayong Magdela.
A public call for savings seminar by SEMAC was held yesterday in the country's economic capital city, Douala, on the theme Investors' Resilience and the Sustainable Finance. The SEMAC International Investor Week communication program was aimed at restoring confidence in the markets and inviting individuals, professionals, and institutional investors to take a responsible approach towards investing and ways to strengthen investor resilience and sustainable finance.
The theme of this week here, the theme concerns, first of all, the resilience of the investor, and the second one is how to preserve environmental, how to have an environmental impact when we take a decision to put our money in some asset.
Mr. Banga Louise Ntolo, Director General of BVMAC, aligns points needed to become a successful investor, reason while a whole week is dedicated for the investor purpose.
The first point concerns the resilience is to understand that, first of all, the investor is not being obliged to put his money in everything, and so wrong and bad thing, bad investment project driven by some people who is not very correct in business. And so you have to know that if you're an investor, you can wait and see, first of all, clear if the investment you need to put on is very fair and very well. And the second one is concerning the environmental action. This is also the need of the world authority to sensibilize the investor that when you buy some assets, when you buy some stock, some listed stock or listed bond, you need to know exactly the issuer. Who is it?
The Public Call for Saving initiative is an international call for awakeness in the business and monetary world, with the aim to impact and make business investor even more successful, since the globe today is marked by structural changes, and so it plans to ensure all stakeholders in the economy adopt a long-term vision.
The Yaoundé 5 municipality has claimed the prize of the cleanest city of Cameroon, organized by the Ministry of Housing and Urban Development. The event that took place on Monday, October 3rd, saw the Yaoundé 5 municipality awarded a sum of 100 million francs CFA. The event took place in Bertois East region of Cameroon as part of activities marking World Habitat Day. Garouatou emerged second, backing home 60 million francs CFA. On Health Today, Bokengo Worthy talks about anger as a mental health condition, highlighting its triggers, causes, symptoms, risks as steps towards management and prevention in commemoration of the October 3rd to the 10th Mental Health Awareness Week. Take a listen.
Also known as rage, anger is an intense emotional response or reaction to someone who may have deliberately done wrong or hurt one's feelings, pride, emotion, making them feel threatened, attacked, frustrated, or powerless.
Anger in simple terms refers to a strong feeling of hostility, annoyance, or displeasure towards someone, something, or a wrongdoing. Anger is very common among all human beings. It actually helps us to express negative feelings. Anger only becomes a problem when we become physically or verbally abusive, where we become easily angry, or when we allow anger to control our relationships or those around us, and when we are unable to control our anger.
Bearing three types, including passive aggression, open aggression, and assertive anger, the mental health condition affects both children, men and women equally, with many different triggers and causes.
Some causes of anger include stress, abuse, financial challenges, not feeling appreciated, and also anger is related to some mental health conditions such as anxiety and depression. People express anger differently. Some express it by getting verbally or physically abusive with themselves or others. Some express it by feeling of frustration. Some express it by denial.
With symptoms such as suicidal thoughts, temper tantrums, depression, loss of appetite, anxiety, isolation, irritability, trembling and shaking, heavy, fast breathing, physical shutdown or withdrawal, mood swings, and more, mental health condition that takes the life of about 1 million persons yearly around the world can be properly managed if early diagnosed.
When anger gets out of control, it is very important and normal to seek help. A mental health professional can help determine the cause of anger and provide suggested solutions. Some suggested solutions to anger include breathing exercises, recognizing what triggers your anger, stop and listen, walking out of situations that get you angry. Imagine yourself being calm. Drugs can be given if anger is caused by depression or anxiety.
It should be borne in mind that, if not controlled, anger accounts for depression, drug dependence, bipolar disorder, high blood pressure, headaches, increased heart rate, stress, anxiety, memory loss, increased levels of adrenaline, weight gain borne by eating disorder, cardiovascular diseases, heart attack, which for some may lead to sudden death over time.
Now in news out of Cameroon, let's begin in Liberia, where the country's authorities as well as U.S. authorities announced on Monday that they have seized close to 520 kilograms of cocaine, estimated to be worth $100 million. The seizure took place on Saturday on the outskirts of the Liberian capital, Monrovia. According to Monday's announcement, 2 men were arrested, one from Guinea-Bissau and the other a Lebanese national. For the record, West Africa has for several years now been a transit zone for drugs produced in Latin America and destined for Europe. Note here that, besides the U.S. and Liberian authorities, the Brazilian law enforcement agency was also involved in the operation. Although reports circulating on the social media say that the drugs were stored in containers of frozen fish, the U.S. authorities did not confirm. Elsewhere in Uganda, the Red Cross says the country's health system is taking strain as the number of cases of Ebola rises. According to the Ministry of Health, at least 9 people have died from the virus, including a doctor, and there is a total of 43 confirmed cases since the outbreak of the disease on the 20th of September 2022. Note that Ebola causes an acute serious illness that is often fatal if untreated and spreads between humans by direct contact with contaminated bodily fluids. Uganda's Red Cross Communications Director, Irene Nakasita, pointed out that the Ebola outbreak came straight after the COVID-19 pandemic, among other disasters stretching the organization's resources. Let's now talk sports. Ethiopian athlete Yelemzev Yehualo is the youngest winner of the London Marathon after recording the 3rd fastest time in the women's competition's history. The 23-year-old beat last year's winner, Kenyan-born Joycelyn Jepkosgei, and fellow Ethiopian Alemu Megetu 2nd and 3rd respectively. The Ethiopian runner appeared to trip on a speed bump 10 kilometers remaining, banging her head and hurting her hip and knee, but she somehow recovered to rejoin the leading pack and crossing the line in 2 hours 17 minutes 25 seconds, the 3rd fastest time at the event. In other sports news, the Rugby Lions of Cameroon have suffered a disappointing defeat of 36 against 2 at the Middle East African Rugby League Championship in Ghana, which just ended. According to the team's coach, Paul Yombi, the team was to consist of at least 17 players, but they were able to secure just 12 tickets. He added that the team arrived the competition 30 minutes to kick off last Wednesday. Reasons for the poor performance at the tournament because they couldn't grab tickets enough. Thus, the players appeared or suffered from fatigue. Cameroon lost to Nigeria 36-2 in their first match and also lost to Kenya 16-0 on Saturday. The Middle East African Rugby League Mea Championship started on September 27 and ended on Sunday, October 2, with 4 participating teams, Cameroon, Nigeria, Ghana, and Kenya, and saw Nigeria lifting the cup after defeating host Ghana 34. That concludes Prime Flash on my Media Prime Television today. I have been Eileen Nsah for presentation. The news was produced by Elvis, Modika. Huge thanks for viewing. But do stay tuned to more amazing programs coming up on my Media Prime Television this day. Up next is The Brief with Lasha Kingsley and Bomoto Gina Gladys. Have a blessed day and happy Teachers Day to all the teachers out there. Bye for now.
My Media Prime TV, the African